If you're looking to bulletproof your steering setup in your 2005 through 2023 Toyota Tacoma, this HD tie rod kit is a mod you should consider. Now, a broken tie rod is a bad beat, especially if you are in the middle of nowhere. So replacing your current tie rods, whether they are worn and you're feeling some looseness in your steering, you've broken one already, or you're looking to avoid failure altogether, is a fantastic idea, and this kit will offer that added strength to do so. Now, this is tailored to the off-road driver who's taking more abusive terrains, and even just for the Tacoma owners who have oversized tires or a lot of added weight to their rig that needs the additional steering reinforcement. Now, not only are these great for those heavy-duty applications, but these will transform your ride with a tighter and more controlled feel if that's what you're looking for your Tacoma. Now, as I mentioned, the design here is good for stability and durability throughout tougher driving scenarios, whether it be a ton of extra weight, off-camber situations, or both. Now, this set with the larger build and the much more durable construction will hold up very well to both of those scenarios, offering more strength for those push and pull situations where you need a lot more strength than the factory tie rod can offer, especially when it comes to the joint. Now, they come with inner and outer rods for a full replacement, boots to cover the rods, as well as the ball joint to keep whatever debris or dirt that you encounter out of the joints to prevent failure, and pre-threaded Zerk housings to maintain these and service these over time. Now, with the additional strength also comes a better feel, so while you do get some peace of mind that these are going to hold up very well, you also get some better handling, a more controlled experience, and some increased stability when upgrading to this set. Now, as I said, these are significantly larger in size, with almost a 10mm difference from this ball joint here in this outer knuckle housing, and a smaller yet significant increase on the inner rod. Now, these are made of a CNC machined SAE 1045 solid steel forged housing here, and 4140 hot forged chromoly ball studs with a metal on metal bearing style, which is for those tougher applications. Now, all of that is just specific wording for that these are going to be incredibly tough and they're not going to falter easily. Now, these rods are also covered in an E-coated finish for rust resistance when being subjected to the elements. These also come with pre-installed CR rubber boots and grade 8 class 10.9 hardware for some additional peace of mind. These are about $550, making this a premium option for a tie rod setup. Now, comparing these to other choices, the construction and the design here are well worth the additional cost if you want to invest in a durable system that, again, isn't going to falter easily when put up to those tougher scenarios. Now, not only is this a beefier setup, but they do come with both the inner and outer rods, as well as the protective boots, compared to purchasing these separately for a complete upgrade and replacement. Now, install here is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. I do recommend some mechanical know-how in order to tackle this job. However, it is fairly straightforward, and it should take about 3 hours or so in order to install these. And I do highly recommend an alignment as well to make sure that everything is wearing properly, especially your tires, and you have the best performance available after installing these. Now, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can get these onto your Tacoma, whether you are tackling the install yourself or you're just curious about the install. So that's going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into it.
For this install, you will need an inner tie rod removal tool, a pry bar, a hammer, a breaker bar, an impact, an adjustable wrench, channel locks, needle nose pliers, angle cutters, some various extensions, a 3/8 half inch adapter if necessary, 19 and 22 millimeter sockets, 20 and 21 millimeter wrenches, a 7/8 wrench, and also not shown here is a clamp crimp tool and a jack and jack stand. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing some tie rods on our Tacoma, so let's get started. All right, so we've got the truck in the air, we've got the wheels off, and the first thing we need to do is get our outer tie rod out of our knuckle. So we need to remove the cotter pin first and then remove the castle nut on top of it. So we've got some needle nose pliers, we're going to pull that pin out, then we'll get our socket and impact and get that castle nut out of there. So we'll straighten these legs out on our cotter pin. That is pretty important to get them out as easy as possible. You want to make sure these are as straight as you can get them. Now sometimes they're just a little too far gone. You may have to cut them off, but you can manage to straighten them out. Should be able to pull these out relatively easy. Now we can remove our castle nut with our 19mm socket on our impact. We want to leave this on a couple of threads, because that's going to catch it when we pop this out. Next, we're going to unseat our tie rod. Now, you can use a ball joint service tool, or you can grab a hammer and give a few taps on your knuckle. Get that to unseat. And once that's unseated, you can unscrew your nut, pop that off. So now before we separate our outer tie rod, we're gonna grab a marker. We're gonna mark our threads where our retainer nut is sitting. Also give a few reference marks along the outer tie rod and nut. This is just gonna allow us to be able to reassemble this loosely to get our new tie rod set up generally in the area of length of this one, so that the alignment is not off by too much. However, you definitely want to get an alignment after replacing these. So now we're going to loosen up our retainer nut and get our outer tie rod off. Now you will notice we have loosely reinstalled this into our knuckle. We're going to get that nut back on there. We're just going to crack this loose. Now we've got a 7/8 wrench for our retainer nut and a 21mm wrench for our tie rod. Sometimes these do get pretty stuck on here. Now we'll get this nut loose. Now if these have never been off or touched, they're gonna be pretty tight. The only thing you need to do is just loosen that up a little bit. Take this back out. Now to get our outer tie rod moving, now that we have our nut loose, we do have an adjustable wrench on the inner tie rod shaft. This is just to help hold it in place. And our 21mm wrench. Again, if you've never touched these, they're gonna be a little bit tough to move. You might have to work them back and forth a little bit. Now once you've got this loosened up and down to the end of the thread, you should just be able to turn it till it pops off like this. Now we can set our outer tie rod aside and start working on the inner tie rod. So now we're going to remove the boot off of our inner tie rod. We're going to get this clamp off of it first with our needle nose pliers. Just slide that off. Now you can fully remove this nut if you'd like, but just back here is fine for now. Now the clamp on the wider side of the boot is one that we will have to cut off. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right at the back of the boot and you'll see the clamp end of it. That's what we're going to cut. We're going to grab our angle cutters. Again, it's going to be hard to see. So now, again, it's pretty hard to see, but you can see the top of the clamp right back in here. If you really need better access to it, you could remove your skid plate, but it's not quite necessary. Just want to get some good angle cutters in there. Now once we have the top of that clamp cut, as you can see, our boot is now loose. Now we are going to remove this nut fully now. The clamp has already fallen off. And you can take your boot, pop that straight off. Now while it is not necessary to remove for this job, we did remove our skid plate just to give you a better view. Again, you do not need to take that off at home. This is just to show you better. Now we can access our full inner tie rod. Now the nut holding it on is on the back side of this. There is a tab that we need to bend up the ends on behind it. So the easiest way to do that is to grab a chisel or a decent sized pry bar. We're just gonna tap those out of the way. You just need them to come up off of the nut. Do that for that one and the bottom side as well. So now we're going to use our inner tie rod removal tool to get our inner tie rod out. So we're going to grab our appropriate socket, so to speak, for that. You need to slide the rest of the tool over, get your tabs lined up, lock that into place. Now you want to keep this as straight as possible. We're going to grab a 1/2-inch breaker bar, get it into the end of our tool, and crack this loose. Once it's cracked loose, you will spin it off. And now comes your inner tie rod. So now we're going to install our new inner tie rod. So just like the stock one, we do have one of those retainer tabs. I'm just going to slide it over for now. These smaller ears on the thread side are going to lock into the retainer dowels on the steering rack itself. So we'll get this started by hand. You want to make sure to have this completely disassembled before you start to put this together so you can fit the tie rod tool over it. Those ears will catch. Now just like taking it off, we're going to do it the same way. We're going to put that socket on, lock it in place, and we'll tighten it down again with our 1/2-inch breaker bar. Lock that in. Slide this on. Now, not every tie rod tool has this locking mechanism, but it is nice. So make sure it's as far in as we can get it by hand. We'll grab breaker bar. Now once that's nice and tight from the breaker bar, you want to make sure to torque that down to the manufacturer recommended specifications. So now you want to grab your boot and your new clamp, which is also the same style as the factory one. You will need a crimper tool for this clamp. For demonstration purposes, we are not going to crimp this clamp down, but you want to just stick it right on the larger end of your boot. Get that on. Now a lot of times when you take this boot off, this end piece will fold in. If that's the case, you can just use the end of your inner tie rod, kind of push that back out. So we've got that end out, we'll slide our boot all the way on. Get that lined up with your inner tie rod. Make sure that goes all the way over the end of your inner tie rod. And then again, as mentioned, you definitely want to crimp that clamp down with a crimping tool. Next, we can install our smaller clamp with some channel locks. You can also use needle nose or actual clamp pliers. Now we'll slip our other clamp over. Make sure that gets all the way onto your boot. Then we can install our retainer nut for our outer tie rod. Then we'll install our outer tie rod itself. Now we'll get our outer tie rod threaded on. At this point you can possibly move your inner one. They are pretty stiff though. Now for setting your baseline on your outer tie rod, you can do one of two things. You can either use the reference marks from your old tie rod, or you can center up your wheel and knuckle so it's pretty much straight. Again, you will need an alignment after doing this, so as long as it's not drastically towed in or out, you'll be able to make it to the alignment shop, but definitely want to go there directly. We'll get this close. Then we'll just back our retaining nut onto our tie rod. We're not going to tighten it just yet. We'll bring this down. Get it set into our knuckle. Now, another thing, your outer tie rod ball joint is going to be a little bit stiff as well. You may have to move your knuckle around a little bit. Once you get that through, you can install your provided castle nut. Then we're going to grab a 22mm socket to tighten this down. We'll tighten this down. Again, you want to torque that down to the manufacturer torque spec after tightening it. Now we can install our provided cotter pin through our stud. Now there's no wrong way to bend a cotter pin as long as it is wrapping around the threads at some point to prevent your nut from completely coming off. That is the whole purpose. As long as you have that bent up around the studs, however you choose, it'll be just fine. Once we have that in, we can install our provided grease fitting in the bottom. Now this is a service point. These do come pre-greased, so you do not have to grease them out of the gate unless you want to. So we'll tighten that one down. Now we'll grab our 8mm wrench and tighten down our grease fitting. Snug that down. Now we can come back and fully tighten our retainer nut for our outer tie rod. So now we're going to tighten down our retainer nut using a 20mm wrench to hold our inner tie rod shaft. I'm just going to use an adjustable to tighten down the retainer nut. Now once you've got this side complete, you can repeat the same process on the other side. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our HD tie rod kit for your 05 to 23 Tacoma. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Tacoma, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.